Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Big Tech Talks. I am here with my co-host, Pavel. How you doing today, Pavel?
I'm very well. How are you? I'm excited to record another episode.
Myself included. Today, we are going to be talking about Chrome. We all love Chrome. Hopefully, a lot of us like Chrome. There's constantly updates and features from Chrome, and sometimes it's just too much to go through, right? We don't want to spend all this time going through every new feature and figuring out which one's good. So today we plucked some of the pearls, and we're going to discuss those today in depth so that you can go and build better projects faster now. So
Products, yes. That's
yeah.
the list is it's a very long list of features that Chrome is working on right now, and this is a public list. You can sign up for mailing. You can just go to a website, but it's like hundreds of features being developed right now. So instead of you spending a week going through this list, we do this for you.
So hey, let's just jump into it and talk about our first feature.
Our first feature is horizontal line inside select element as a separator. So it's actually great news. So it is already supported via JavaScript API. So you can create an HR horizontal role in JavaScript and insert into a select between options, and it would render. But if you would do the same in HTML, the parser would ignore it, which is very confusing and strange. Yes. So to actually create a separation between options in the drop-down list in a select, you really want to use this HR element. Specifically, that select is notorious in still unstylable. It's really hard to do anything with a select. That's why probably every web developer has its own design implementation of a select, better or worse. So this is coming up to Chrome, and they are estimating it will be shipped on desktop with version 118.
Now, how long would you say this has been a feature you've been wanting? Is this when you've been thinking about for a long time?
It's not like I'm super crazy about it, but it's very helpful.
Hmm.
That's it.
Gotcha. Yeah, nice to have.
Nice to have. Okay, search element. This is a new element. Chrome will get a new search element that was proposed some time ago. The specification is established and it's there, but it was never implemented. So the search element doesn't do anything functionally, but it applies the search role for accessibility. So how you can work with it? So you can wrap a form element with a label, an input, and a button to perform search, and you can wrap the form into a search HTML element. And it gives you a semantic meaning that this form is responsible for searching. It can search this app, this particular web page, and highlight the results, or perform the actual search, like somewhere in the backend, and present the results. I think it's super cool. It's equivalent to use the role search, but we're just gonna get a new HTML element.
So you said this is for accessibility. Help me
Yes.
understand what kind of user, how this would help a user um, who's navigating the site.
Like all other ARIA attributes, like role and elements in general, they have built-in accessibility features, semantic meaning. Think about it this way: it's a semantic meaning. It gives a semantic meaning to the form or an input element, whatever. So when, say, a screen reader encounters this element,
Hmm.
then it knows that the form inside
Hmm.
is going to be responsible for search functionality. So it can announce to the user,
Hmm.
this is search.
Wow, that seems like such a big feature that
It is.
I'm surprised that's not something that would be sooner, given that most sites will have some sort of search feature or search functionality. Is this
Mhm.
something that bigger sites tend to already like a YouTube would already have, or like a bigger kind of uh, you know uh, bigger companies would already have something like this?
Let me check. I'm checking it right now as we speak. Search on YouTube with the magic on editing. You are seeing this too.
Yes.
Okay. So we have input, we have div with a slot, so it's the custom element somewhere. YouTube search. I Yeah, they use role search.
Okay.
So yes, YouTube is using the semantic meaning of search,
Hmm.
but through ARIA roles instead of having an element that tells you that this is search. Semantically, it's just better to use elements other than. Actually, no opinion about that one.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
Okay, great.
so this will land in Chrome in version 118 with the horizontal line, apparently.
Cool. Got it. So these are going to be the biggest add-ons to HTML. I know we also
Yep.
have some new add-ons to JavaScript.
Yeah, we love JavaScript.
We love JavaScript.
Yeah, so I collected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items from JavaScript, and I think they are super cool. So the first one is feature detection for supported clipboard formats. So we have Clipboard API that allows you to write the clipboard. Initially, they only allowed you to write text. Then they allowed more formats like images.
Hmm.
You can today write a an image into a clipboard. But then you, as an author of an application, may start wondering, does this application support writing to clipboard a WebP format? It's an image format. So what you do is you try to write, and if there is an error during
Mhm.
the write operation, it ends with an error. So that's how you would detect whether this format is supported by this browser. But as it turns out, this operation is very expensive.
Hmm.
So they created a new static method, which is a clipboard item supports and the MIME type of the format you want to write, and it's much faster. It takes a lot of processor cycles to detect whether this format is supported or not. So yeah, that's coming up in Chrome in version 119. This is estimation.
So this is a faster, cheaper way to detect if the format is supported on the clipboard.
That's right.
Okay, gotcha. And then the previous way was you could do it, but it was more expensive to do.
Yes, which
Okay.
counts very much on on mobile, for example, because because it drains battery.
Ah, got it. Okay. Okay.
Processor cycles drains battery. So if you would perform the whole write and this operation fails, you can do this faster by just the browser telling you whether this type is supported.
Okay. Sweet.
So my favorite now, it's a promise with resolvers. That's a static new method that's gonna land in Chrome desktop version 119. I'm gonna explain that by giving you an example. Very often you create a class in JavaScript where it does some heavy work, whatever that is.
Hmm.
So you don't want to use callbacks instead you use promises. That's like very natural today. Before promises, you would use callbacks, which was very nasty. Today you use promises.
Hmm.
So what do? And again, through the magic of editing, you see this on the screen. You would call a function in a class, method in a class that does the work, whatever that is. It
Hmm.
returns a promise. The promise takes one argument, which is the function, the callback function. That's argument. Which arguments are the resolve and reject functions? It's well, how do you call it? Cumbersome?
Cumbersome.
No, cumbersome. Sorry. So this is quite cumbersome to do that every single time when you have this use case. And this is actually quite popular use case. Almost every framework has an implementation of this. So what spec authors decided is to create this new static function with resolvers. No, again, no, with resolvers uh, where this function returns an object with three properties:
Hmm.
promise, resolve, and reject.
Hmm.
So we don't have to do this whole dance with returning promise, then
Uh-huh.
passing the function with have attributes, sets properties on your class that can be reserved
Hmm.
later. You just do this with one call. It's for ergonomy. It's super cool. I love it.
Yeah, that seems way simpler, way less configuring you'd have to do, right?
Yep. And a lot of developers already have a similar implementation somehow. So yeah, it's all about developer experience. Speaking about developer experience, showPicker on select element, new function. So as it turns out, I was actually surprised. I didn't really had to do this ever before, but as it turns out, there was no way to trigger this drop-down list to be shown to the user on a select element. It was
Hmm.
activated only through user interaction. So instead of doing some weird stuff in JavaScript, which likely wouldn't work for cross-browser,
Hmm.
we finally, after decades of having internet, we're finally gonna get a function that triggers the showing the drop-down options in the select. And as it turns out, it was actually a very requested feature by web developers. Today I have found like a number of questions on Stack Overflow asking for how to trigger this dropdown. So yeah, it's gonna be in Chrome very soon. I couldn't find the estimated shipping, but it's on the development list right now. So it's gonna land there quite soon.
So you're saying that this would just automatically show the drop-down menu before having to click it?
No, it allows you to programmatically trigger options.
Okay, got you. So it would you have a drop-down menu, 1, 2, 3, thing 1, 2, 3, and it would
Mhm.
go click on it, and then go to, let's say we wanted to select 3, and it automatically clicks 3 for us and take us to wherever,
Yep.
do whatever. Is this something you're gonna start you know, implementing soon or try to use?
I won't. I likely won't ever use it because this is a standard browser behavior. User expects select element to be clicked before it opens the dropdown, and I wouldn't mess with that behavior myself.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming those those developers had their business needs for triggering this option.
All right. So, shall we go to the next one?
Yeah, so web install API. I think it's super cool. This one comes from Microsoft, and I have found it in the Microsoft's Edge repository. So that makes me actually think about whether they are working on a web app catalog, some form, another Chrome web store. Well, they do have their own store. So it allows you to create a UI on your web app where you can ask the user to click install button and install a web application as PWA, progressive web app. And it works just like today, same domain, but also if you have enough permissions, cross domain. So you can install an application from another domain. So there is another domain, another application, progressive web app running. You can theoretically create a whole catalog of those apps.
Mhm.
And if that app allows you to install this application cross domain, you can actually ask the user, hey, this is this app and it does whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you can click on it and it will install this application in your operating system launcher.
Oh, okay.
Another cool stuff. I read the specification and there is an ability to tell the system where to install this application. So apparently the default value is to install as a standalone application. So you just have like a web app as any other installable application on your system.
Mhm.
But the other option is a sidebar. So I am assuming this is a feature of Windows 11. It has the sidebar coming from, well, the side. So I'm assuming this is where this is gonna go, this application installed this way. So I actually think it's a super cool and well thought API. I read the whole specification, and I'm actually very excited to see it.
Got it. So basically, instead of having to navigate to a certain site to download their to actually download the application, you could
No,
actually be on
you're not downloading application. You are installing a web application.
or sorry, installing an web application.
Yes,
Instead of installing it, you going to navigating to the site to install it. You can do it from another domain, and
that's right.
that domain could have a nice long catalog of a bunch of stuff. That
That's right.
could be from a bunch of different domains, right?
That's right. And non-goals for this project, for this initiative, is to associate ratings and reviews with that application, to process payments, lists purchased, installed goods from the store, and so on. So I'm thinking Microsoft is building a store for web apps, which is something that doesn't really exist. I mean, you have Chrome Web Store, but it's very focused on extensions.
Mhm.
But while you have Windows Store, when you can upload your installable applications developed for Windows platform, you have App Store on Mac OS. On Linux, you have, depending on the distribution, but most likely Snap or something like that. You don't have anything like this for web applications. So I'm pretty sure I can guess that Microsoft is working on a web store. Yeah, a store for web apps.
Very cool. Very cool.
And now the last one from the JavaScript group. I think it's gonna be cool. API. It's a web preferences API. So what it does, imagine today you are building an application and you support theming. You have dark theme, you have light theme for users.
Mhm.
So now you have to make a choice. Either you're gonna be only relying on the system preferences that and read the query the state that this user is using dark theme instead of light theme. And you only rely on this information provided by the system. But you also assume that the user even know and understand what those features are doing, know where to find it, meaning where in the operating system you change the definition of your theme. Or maybe you want to give the user another option. You want them to select to use system settings or pre-select like light theme or a dark theme. I say this is very common. Today, like open whatever application and that supports theming, and likely you're gonna have light theme, dark theme, and system preferred.
Mhm.
But you have to store those preferences yourself. You have to build this whole logic for yourself and so on.
Hmm.
This new Web Preferences API will allow you to do the same thing without, for your web application, without asking this user this third option,
Hmm.
use system preferred. So you can just ask the user, would you like light theme or dark theme? And this way you can override the system preference from your web application for this domain.
Hmm.
And I think it's actually very cool because it simplifies the logic that you have to employ to support theming. And it's not only theming, it's a color scheme, it's a contrast, it's reduced motion, it's reduced transparency, and
Hmm.
reduced data. These are concept of CSS. So there's going to be a new interface on the navigator interface,
Hmm.
which is preference manager, and it's going to have like those values. And you can override. Actually, you can request override because it's connected to the permission API. You need to request permissions for that. You can call a function which I believe it's called the request override, and you specify the value that you want to override, and it overrides the system setting for this particular value. And I think it's super cool.
Hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you can have this customized, experience that you want to have apply to all these different sites that you go to.
Yep. Yep. It definitely it simplifies it for you as an author, and it simplifies it for the user because you can build more integrated with the system flows.
Very cool.
All
All right.
right.
So I know we've got our final one. Very important, security and privacy. We know is very important.
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled about that. It's the and I almost jumped when I read the title in the email.
Oh.
Protection. So the Chrome team is working on adding another layer of security, actually more privacy for users. So how is this going to work? In phase 0 that they are working on right now, all traffic will be going through a single Google-owned proxy, and will only proxy request to domains owned by Google. So proxy meaning that the target website, the target domain, won't know your real IP address. It will only know the proxy email address. But in the phase 2, which is not really described when that's going to happen, they will use 2 proxies to connect to the target server. So when user request connection to whatever website, it first go through a Google proxy, which then make connection to another proxy in a way that Google proxy won't know the destination. It connects to another proxy and it tunnels your request from your browser. So the first proxy doesn't know the destination. And the destination proxy doesn't know, because it goes through the first proxy, the last proxy doesn't know your original IP address. So there is no way for the entire connection to know. The source will never know the destination, the destination website, the server that serves your web application will never know your real IP address.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge, and well, truthfully, it's going to be a pain in the ass for us as developers, because we use proxies. Sorry, we use IP addresses from time to time for security reasons, for logs, for to detect where you are. So we can offer you, I don't know, products around your area, for example, or estimated shipping prices or whatever.
Okay.
We use most often we use IP addresses to understand where you are.
Mm,
But yeah, it's still a huge win for privacy advocates.
gotcha. Well, hey, that's great. I mean, I'm curious how this affects people who are, just thinking about people who are using VPNs and things like that. Does that
It-
does that
hmm.
play any role? People who
there
do use
was
VPNs.
there was nothing about that in the document. Uh, Proxy is not the same as VPN. It's
Mhm.
very different thing, and you can detect proxy on the server side. I mean, you can detect that the traffic went through a proxy.
Okay.
So for example, streaming service may detect, oh, you are going through a proxy. Sorry, we are not serving any traffic to you.
Hmm.
Well, we'll see how they're gonna implement it. I'm not sure because it wasn't clear from the description.
Okay.
Okay,
But still,
I,
hey, these have been really cool, features that I think a lot of developers will appreciate. Um, as always, I hope that all of you listening are excited about this. If there are any Chrome features that you hope to see down the line, or one out of the one that really stood out to you from the list that we talked about today, please go down in the comments. Tell us what you think, your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. And yeah, we look forward to our next, Chrome talk.
yeah, and subscribe to the channel.
And subscribe, please.
See you next time.